For Christina's birthday, I spent 3 months painting a replica of Starry Night for her. A few days later, I saw my painting on eBay. The description read, "Gift from a simp. Selling cheap." She hadn't even looked at it closely enough to find the love letter I'd hidden in the frame. I bought the painting back and finally let her go. But then, she cornered me, her voice trembling as she begged. I was wrong. "Please, can you give the painting back to me?" I was scrolling through X when I saw a post with a picture. Bought a painting on eBay and found a love letter tucked into the frame when it arrived. What should I do? Tell the seller? My finger trembled as I clicked on the image. It was an oil painting of a starry sky. Every brushstroke was familiar, because I was the one who had painstakingly painted it over 3 long months. I did it because Christina once casually mentioned she liked Van Gogh. I secretly filed that away, and for her birthday, I painted her a copy of Starry Night. Tucked inside the frame was a love letter I'd finally worked up the courage to write. I'd spent days writing and rewriting it, never satisfied, before nervously slipping it in. But she hadn't even bothered to give it a second glance. The product description next to it was just a few casual words. Gift from a simp. Selling cheap. I bit my lip so hard I tasted blood, but all I could feel was the searing pain in my chest, an endless wave of bitterness and grief washing over me. I always knew she didn't like me. I just never imagined she would trample on my feelings like this. The comments section was full of replies. "You can tell so much work went into this painting. How could she do that? Even if you don't like a gift, you don't insult someone and call them a simp. Don't tell her. If she cared so little about the painting, she won't care about the letter either." I lowered my eyes and posted a comment. "Hi, I'm the one who gave her that painting. Can I buy it back from you? Name your price. Thank you." This was my heart and soul, poured onto a canvas over 3 months and countless failed attempts. I didn't want it to become a joke that everyone laughed at, even though it already was. The guy who posted was really nice. He replied right away, calling Christina a jerk and spending a long time trying to cheer me up. We ended up realizing we went to the same college, so we arranged to meet up the next day for the handoff. Lying in my dorm bed that night, I stared up at the cracked ceiling as the darkness wrapped around me like a shroud of sorrow. Christina was always the center of attention, the one everyone noticed. I knew she'd never fall for someone as plain and unremarkable as me. After liking her for so long, I wanted her to know how I felt. We met in high school right after I transferred because of my parents' divorce. They were never home much to begin with. After they split, they both quickly remarried, and neither of them wanted me the baggage. They even screamed at each other in court, trying to push my custody onto the other. In the end, my grandma took me in out of pity. Probably because of my family situation, I was never outgoing or likable. I kept to myself and preferred to just sit alone and draw. I loved the feeling of a paintbrush in my hand. Every piece I created was like a friend I'd brought to life, and I cherished them. My introverted personality, quiet nature, and messy family life quickly made me a target for bullies. The other boys would rip up my drawings, snap my brushes, and grab my clothes while they hit me. One afternoon, after they'd locked me in a classroom again, I stared at the scattered, torn pieces of paper on the floor, my eyes turning red. As I choked back a sob, a crisp, girlish voice suddenly sounded from behind me. "TCH. I spun around, startled. Christina, her school uniform jacket hanging loosely off her shoulders, ran a hand through her messy, sleep-tousled hair and scowled as she sauntered over. Back then, she had a reputation as the school's resident bad girl. I immediately, instinctively apologized. "I'm sorry. I didn't know you were sleeping in here." She bent down, picked up a piece of my drawing, and cut me off. "Van Gogh's Starry Night?" I was so surprised she could tell what it was from a single scrap that I forgot to be scared. "Yeah, how did you know?" She just scoffed and tossed the piece of paper onto my desk. "It's not bad. The artist is just pathetic. They bully you, why don't you fight back?" So she knew. I lowered my head, my lips moving, but no words came out. It's been 6 years, but I still remember the sunset that day. Vast swathes of pink and purple painted the sky like a masterpiece, every stroke breathtakingly beautiful. But I didn't see it. All I could see was the bright, defiant look in her eyes. And in that moment, I surrendered completely. Christina was a party girl, always surrounded by a rotating cast of handsome boyfriends. I knew I'd never be in her league, so for years, I kept my feelings hidden, content to just watch her from a distance. I even chose the same college as her, even though my grades were way higher than what the school required. Over time, since we were old high school classmates, we gradually became closer. I slowly found a place by her side. When she was heartbroken, I'd go drinking with her. When she skipped class, I'd go riding motorcycles with her. When she slept through lectures, I'd sit next to her and take notes for her. I thought that maybe one day she might finally see me. I covered my eyes with my arm, a bitter smile on my face. But in the end, all I was to her was a simp. The next day, I didn't go to class with Christina. She caught me in the hallway, grabbing my arm with an air of entitlement. Why weren't you there to take notes for me today? But this time, I didn't feel that familiar rush of happiness. I used to think her casual, demanding attitude was a sign of how close we were. I'd even secretly feel happy about it. Now I realize she just saw me as a dog she could summon or dismiss at will. Instead of answering, I asked Christina, "Where's the painting I gave you?" A flicker of panic crossed her face, gone in an instant. "Why are you asking? I gave it to you, so it's mine now. Don't tell me you want it back?" I looked down at my shoes. "Yeah. I suddenly don't want you to have it anymore. Give it back." Christina turned her head away, looking uncomfortable. "I took it home. Can't you just paint another one?" I shook my head stubbornly. "No, I want that one." Of course, I knew she couldn't produce it. I just wanted to hear her admit it. Christina was silent for a moment. Then her expression soured with annoyance. "God, you're so annoying. Are you ever going to let this go? I told you it's at home. I can't get it. It's just a stupid painting. What's the big deal?" Just then, the hottest guy in our department walked by and casually linked his arm with hers. "Hey, Christina, were you serious about taking me racing?" Christina paused, then wrapped her arm around his and smiled. "Of course. Let's go." As she walked past me, I heard her mutter one word: "Buskill." She meant me, didn't she? Before, I would have been scrambling to apologize and make her happy. But this time I just felt tired. I didn't want to chase her anymore. As I turned to leave, a cool, female voice called out from behind me. "Iron Giant?" That was my eBay username. I froze, turning back around. A slender girl in a white dress stood a short distance away, holding a large, flat package. Every guy who walked by did a double take, whispering and pointing. Some even pulled out their phones to take pictures. Her features were cool and elegant, with a soft, graceful jawline and a small, straight nose. It was a sharp, striking look, but a small beauty mark just below her eye and her deep red lips gave her an unexpected air of gentle charm. I recognized her immediately. It was Vivian Lin from the computer science department. She was so famous. Practically everyone at school knew who she was. Someone once tallied up the number of anonymous confession posts on the school's social media page. Vivian beat Christina by a dozen or so, making her the unofficial campus queen in our private discussions. But we'd never spoken. How could she possibly know my eBay username? For a second, I thought I'd misheard, but she walked straight toward me and handed me the package. "Your painting." My eyes widened. "Your Lin-like stuff? But aren't you a guy?" My expression must have been priceless. Wait, was Vivian Lin secretly a dude online? As I was trying to process this, she spoke. "That was my brother. He had something come up, so he asked me to drop it off." This was the first time I'd ever spoken to Vivian, and with everyone's eyes glued on us, I quickly took the painting. "Oh, thanks." Vivian nodded. "It's a beautiful painting." I never expected someone like her to compliment me. I was a bit starstruck. She didn't say anything else, just turned and walked away. It wasn't until she was gone that it hit me. I never sent a photo. How did she know what I looked like? I thought about it for a while but couldn't figure it out. I just hugged the painting and headed back to my dorm. The next day, I didn't seek out Christina again. We'd almost never fought before because our relationship was built on my one-sided, unconditional surrender. On the rare occasion things got tense, I was always the one to back down and smooth things over. But this time I didn't go to her, and she came looking for me. After class, Christina grabbed my wrist and pulled me into the hallway, frowning. "You know Vivian Lin?" Before I could answer, a sneer spread across her face. "Oh, I get it. No wonder you haven't been coming to class with me. You're trying to climb the social ladder." She continued, "Leo, that's hilarious. Have you seen who Vivian Lin is? I'm telling you, her family owns half the five-star hotels in this city. They're loaded. I'm warning you, don't even think about it. You two are from completely different worlds. You really think she'd ever look at you?" The undisguised contempt and malice in her eyes stabbed me like a knife. I looked up at her. I had really, truly loved this person for so long. Loved her so much that just seeing her filled my heart with joy. But now, that familiar face had twisted into something unrecognizable, making my heart ache with a pain so sharp it was hard to breathe. I summoned every ounce of my strength to suppress my anger and said through gritted teeth, "Christina, you're a real asshole." Christina and I were done. After I called her an asshole, she first stared at me in disbelief, then slammed her fist against the hallway wall in a rage and stormed off. She never contacted me again, and I didn't contact her. I figured as much. Being called out by the simp who'd always been at her beck and call must have been a huge blow to her pride. It was fine, though. This whole thing had left me exhausted. It was better to just end it. But since Christina always used to skip class, she'd signed up for all the same electives as me so I could text her when the professor took attendance. So I still had to see her all the time. For some reason, she'd started showing up to class more often lately, probably because I wasn't there to cover for her anymore. But every time I saw her, she was on the arm of a different handsome guy. The ones I'd seen included the hottest guy from the foreign languages department, the hottest guy from the finance department, and a few others from who knows where. Her taste was consistent. Tall, handsome, long-legged guys. Both were wealthy, good-looking campus celebrities. But unlike the serious, unsmiling Vivian, Christina was a notorious player. She was never without a guy, but she'd swap them out every few days. Still, with a face like hers, even knowing she was trouble, guys lined up for a chance. When I ran into her outside the classroom, she was with another guy decked out in designer streetwear. I'd seen this guy on the campus confession page a bunch of times. It was Ethan from the dance department, tall, handsome, and so good-looking that even I had to sneak a second glance. Christina walked right past me without even a sideways glance, as if I were invisible. But from her clenched jaw, I could tell she wasn't in a good mood. It had nothing to do with me anymore, so I ignored her and went to my seat in the classroom. My roommate, Alex, leaned over and whispered, "You guys fight?" I kept my head down, flipping through my book. No, it wasn't a fight. I just didn't want to be a simp anymore. No way. Alex glanced over at Christina. "She's giving you the evil eye. You two used to be inseparable, attached at the hip. She took you everywhere. What happened?" I didn't say anything. Maybe to everyone else, Christina and I seemed like best friends. I used to think so, too. Now, I realized she just liked how convenient I was. Someone to take her notes, do her homework, and hang out with her when she was bored. I even bought her breakfast every morning. At best, I was just her butler. I don't know if it was my imagination, but I could feel a pair of eyes burning into my back, like they were trying to bore two holes right through me. Alex peeked behind me and shut up. Just then, the classroom fell silent. A shadow fell over my desk. I looked up and froze. Vivian was standing in front of me, hands in her pockets. She glanced at the empty seat next to me, her voice cool. "Is this seat taken?" Every head in the room turned to us. I paused for half a second. Then, with Alex practically squeezing the life out of my arm in excitement, I managed to sound calm. "Ooh, no." Vivian nodded and casually sat down beside me. I could feel everyone's eyes darting between me, Christina, and Vivian, watching the drama, some jealous, as if we were in some kind of love triangle. It was a little awkward, so I tried to make small talk. "I haven't seen you in here before. Are you taking art history too? To my surprise, Vivian wasn't as cold and unapproachable as the rumors suggested. In fact, her voice was crisp and pleasant. When she leaned in to speak, it was almost captivating. My brother he's busy lately and couldn't make it, so he asked me to take notes for him. I haven't been to this class before. What have you guys covered recently? She asked. Beside me, Alex's eyes were about to pop out of his head. I could feel a million questions bubbling up inside him as he shot me questioning looks. I pretended not to notice and handed her my notebook. You can just show him my notes. I've kept up with all the recent lectures. Thanks. When she got to a page where I doodled a sunflower during a boring moment, she paused and turned her head. That's really good. You like to draw? I was taken aback for a moment, then nodded. Yeah, I really did. When I was little, I didn't have many friends, and the few relatives I had treated me like trash. Only my art supplies would never abandon me. But the thought of the painting that ended up online made a familiar pang of sadness return. Me too. There's a traveling art exhibit this weekend. They don't have Starry Night, but they have Monet's Impression, Sunrise, and Pissarro's The Avenue in the Rain. Want to go? I was stunned. I reflexively pinched my leg under the desk, and the sharp pain almost made me yelp. Was Vivian asking me out? Vivian Lynn, the girl who constantly topped the campus confession boards, the untouchable goddess no one had managed to win over in 3 years, was asking me out? Was I dreaming? Alex was gripping my arm for dear life, his eyes shining like high-beam headlights, looking like he was about to accept for me. Vivian saw I hadn't answered and tilted her head, looking at me. I'd love to. I swallowed hard, my voice cracking nervously. Vivian chuckled. When she wasn't smiling, she had this cold, keep your distance vibe. But when she smiled, her lips were naturally red, and her thick, dark lashes were like raven feathers. I couldn't help but stare, my heart racing. My God, even though I didn't really have a crush on Vivian, who wouldn't be captivated by a face like that? I didn't hear a single word of the lecture. My mind was just repeating one thing over and over: art exhibit. Vivian asked me out. Why did Vivian ask me out? Does she like me? But when did she start liking me? Then I immediately scolded myself. There's a limit to being self-absorbed. The line of guys who liked Vivian could circle the campus. Why would she ever like a nobody like me who gets lost in a crowd? She probably just felt bad for taking my notes and wanted to return the favor. I was in a daze for the rest of the class. It wasn't until Vivian handed my notebook back that I snapped out of it. Whether it was intentional or not, her cool, slender fingers brushed against my hand, lingering for a second before she casually pulled away. A faint scent of flowers and old books wafted past me. My face instantly flushed, and I shoved the notebook into my bag and fled the classroom like my life depended on it. Behind me, I thought I heard a faint, soft laugh. When Christina and I were still friends, I always felt like our time together was never enough. Now it felt like I couldn't escape her. In the cafeteria, she was sitting at the same table we always used to share, but the person next to her wasn't me anymore. It was Ethan. I wanted to sit as far away from her as possible, but the lunch rush was insane, and the only empty spot was at the table next to hers. As I sat down with my tray, Christina didn't even look at me. She just scoffed, loud enough for everyone around to hear. Ugh, can't get rid of him. My hand paused. I pretended not to hear. The group of friends around her knew about us and had noticed we were on the outs. They glanced at me and chimed in with a laugh. Seriously, some people need to take a hint. You think being clingy is going to work? A simp will simp, and in the end have nothing at all. Ethan grinned, glancing over at me before leaning into Christina. I lowered my eyes, my favorite meal suddenly tasting like ash. I'd already decided to give up on her, but hearing those words still felt like a punch to the gut. It was like a splinter that had been stuck in my skin for so long it had gone from a sharp sting to a dull, persistent ache you could never ignore. Just then, one of her friends laughed. Speaking of simps, I saw this post on social media the other day about some guy who spent 3 months on a painting for his crush. He even put a love letter inside, and she didn't even look at it, just threw it up on eBay. The post said they were from our school, too. He found this funnier and funnier. And you know what she put in the description? Gift from a simp. Selling cheap. Ha 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 ha. Our school is full of them. I gripped my spoon so tightly my knuckles turned white. But this time, Christina didn't laugh along with them. Amidst all the laughter at the table, she just sat there, completely still. After a moment, she turned her head and asked in a low voice, "What did the painting look like?" Her friend shrugged. "How should I know? I was just scrolling. I think it was called Starry something. A copy of a Van Gogh or Picasso, I forget. He wasn't done." But you know what the funniest part is? The simp who painted it actually saw the post and bought the painting back from her. Christina shot up from her seat so abruptly that she knocked over her plate and bowl with a loud crash. Everyone around us jumped. "Christina, what's wrong?" But she just stared straight at me, her face pale, a look of panic in her eyes. "Leo," she started to speak, but I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my tray and walked away. Again and again, my feelings were stomped on and made into a joke. I really don't understand why the word simp even exists. Is it wrong to like someone? All those heart-pounding moments, those sleepless nights, those feelings you can't bring yourself to say out loud, do they all just deserve to be kicked aside like trash? I ignored Christina and left the cafeteria without finishing my food, practically running away. That evening, while I was reading, my phone buzzed. It was Christina. I pressed my lips together, hesitated, and then declined the call. But she was relentless, calling again and again. That was Christina's way. When she wanted something, she had to have it. If I didn't answer tonight, there was no telling what she'd do. With a sigh, I finally picked up. "What's up?"
I'm downstairs.
"Come down." She always spoke to me in that demanding tone. I frowned. "If you have something to say, just say it on the phone. I'm busy." Surprisingly, she didn't get angry this time. Her voice was low. "It's not something I can explain in a sentence or two. Just come down." I had no choice. I slipped on some sandals and went downstairs. Christina was standing there in a black tank top, her slender figure drawing glances from every guy who walked by. "What do you want?" I averted my gaze from her. Christina looked down, silent for a long moment before running a hand through her hair in frustration. "I wasn't the one who sold the painting. I got a lot of gifts, so I asked my friend to help me deal with them. He was just joking around with the description. You shouldn't take it seriously." I was a little surprised. Christina was actually explaining herself to me? With her personality, shouldn't she be saying, "So what if I sold it? Do I need your permission?" If this had been the old me, I probably would have forgiven her on the spot and gone right back to being the simp her friends all talked about. But now I didn't want to. I said softly, "What's the difference? Whether you sold it or your friend sold it, does it change anything?" If she had valued the painting even a little bit, how could she have tossed it to a friend without a second thought? Christina was still Christina. Her patience wore thin quickly. "I already explained everything to you. Why are you still holding on to this one little thing? You got the painting back, didn't you? Fine, I'll buy it back from you. Is that good enough?" I just looked at her in silence. Did Christina know she was in the wrong? Of course she did. She wasn't stupid. But from beginning to end, she never once apologized. It was because she didn't think I was worth the effort of an apology. To her, a simp like me didn't need one. I'd just keep coming back no matter what. Maybe in her eyes, giving me this half-hearted explanation was already a huge concession. I sighed softly. "I'm not holding on to anything." "Then why have you been avoiding me?" she demanded, her brow furrowed. The evening wind messed up my hair. I tucked a strand behind my ear, feeling a wave of exhaustion. I just had a moment of clarity. "Christina, chasing you is exhausting. I don't think we're suited to be friends." I couldn't find a better word for it, but were we ever really friends? It was more like a relationship held together entirely by my efforts. But even a rubber band will snap if you stretch it too far. I'm human. I get tired too. Christina's expression turned ugly. As expected, she shot back with a sneer. "Leo, I give you an inch and you take a mile. Friends? You think you're worthy of being my friend?" When I didn't respond, Her face darkened even more. You think I want to hang out with you? I'll have you know, I was sick and tired of you following me around everywhere. Perfect. From now on, whoever contacts the other is a loser. With that, she pulled out her phone right in front of me, blocked me on everything, cursed under her breath, and stormed off. But the drama wasn't over. When I got back to my dorm, Alex found me, his face grim. Did you piss off Ethan? I was confused. What? No, I don't even know him. Alex shoved his phone in my face. He made a social media post with a screenshot of that X thread about your painting. And he posted your love letter. Someone must have screenshotted the original post. Your name was blurred out on the letter, but he basically spelled out that it was you. He glanced at me cautiously. A lot of people are commenting, don't listen to them, they're all idiots. Maybe you should tell Ethan to take it down? It took me a few seconds to process what he'd said. I grabbed the phone. Sure enough, there was the post from Ethan. My girlfriend got a painting for her birthday with a love letter tucked inside, but she listed it on eBay without even looking. What an idiot. Feel so bad for the guy, lol. I heard it took him over 3 months to paint it. Everyone knew he was dating Christina, so it was easy for them to figure out I was the one who'd painted it. The comments were flooding in. I always saw Leo following Christina around. I thought they were together, but I guess he was just a simp the whole time. Ugh, I don't think it's cool to talk about him like that. He put his heart into that gift. Simps never win. Get it? Yeah, I mean, between Ethan and Leo, it's an obvious choice. What was he even thinking? A chill ran through me, my hands shaking as I held the phone. How could he do that? Soon, messages started pouring in from classmates. Guys from my dorm even came by, pretending to be concerned but really just trying to get the gossip, asking if I was the guy Ethan was talking about. In a panic, I bolted from the room without even changing and just ran. I stopped when I was too exhausted to take another step, finding myself by the campus lake. I didn't understand how things had gotten this bad. I hadn't done anything wrong. All I did was love someone with everything I had. Why was I being humiliated like this? The night wind carried a damp chill from the lake, a cold that seemed to seep into my bones. I was cold, miserable, and a complete mess. What are you doing here? My voice was thick with emotion. She paused. I saw you run out of your dorm building just now. I figured you might need some space, so I didn't call out. I don't know why, but hearing her say that in my moment of utter helplessness made my eyes sting with tears again. I had spent years by Christina's side, and all she ever gave me was pain and hurt. I had just met Vivian, and she was already showing me so much kindness. She sat down next to me, not caring if the stone bench was dirty. Is this because of Christina? I remember you two used to be together all the time. I lowered my head, saying nothing. She continued, anyone who makes you cry isn't worth crying over. The moonlight shimmered on the lake's surface, breaking into 1,000 pieces with every ripple. Vivian turned to look at me, her gaze serious. Leo, you're a good person. You need to learn to love yourself. Don't cry over someone else. In the moonlight, her eyes were filled with the shimmering reflection of the water, and me. In that moment, Christina, Ethan, simp, it all faded away. All I could see was the woman in front of me. Vivian's gaze was intense as she slowly leaned closer. I could even smell the faint, floral scent on her breath. It was freezing by the lake, but my whole body suddenly felt hot, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would jump out of my chest. A second before our lips could touch, I shot to my feet. I think I should go back. What was happening? Was she about to kiss me? But we'd just met. That face of hers was just too powerful. I had almost been completely spellbound. Vivian froze for a second, then looked up at me. Then she stood up, acting as if nothing had happened. Let's go. I'll walk you back. The atmosphere between us was so strange. On the way back, I racked my brain for something to talk about. That first time we met, how did you recognize me? A small smile played on Vivian's lips. Iron Giant, my brother told me who you were. I was confused. Did you know me before that? Have we met? Vivian fell silent. After a long pause, she finally said in a low voice, the person who always wore a hoodie and sat in the back of the art room in high school. Do you remember? I froze. High school had been a rough time for me. I used to hide out in the art room, losing myself in the colors of my paints. Back then, there was always a girl in a black hoodie in the last row. She kept her hood up, her messy hair always falling over her eyes. I can't even remember her face clearly now, only that she painted with her left hand. Her fingers were long and slender, with elegant knuckles, and she always had a half-smoked cigarette tucked between them. She spent most of her time sleeping in the art room. When she was awake, she painted. Often, we were the last two left after everyone else had gone home. Her line work was precise, but her use of color was terrible. Finally, I couldn't stand it anymore. I walked over and said quietly, "You should mix 3 different reds here. This color is not quite right." She looked up, her face still hidden by her bangs, but her voice was surprisingly beautiful. "Which 3? I pressed my lips together and used my own brush to mix the color for her. After that, we often painted together. I was socially awkward, and she rarely spoke. We painted together for months without ever learning each other's names, but I felt like our souls were connecting through our art. The only things I remember about her are her messy bangs and her beautiful voice. She was probably the closest thing I had to a friend in high school, but she left suddenly. I heard she transferred to a school with a better college acceptance rate. We never exchanged contact information. All she left behind in the art room was a painting of a sunflower, one we had mixed the colors for together. That was you. I was shocked. Where did you go? Vivian glanced at me. It was a hard look to read, but it seemed to hold a hint of annoyance. My eyes widened. What is it? I left my contact information in the painting, tucked in the frame. But you never contacted me. When I saw you here at college, I recognized you, but you didn't recognize me. You were always with that other girl, so I didn't want to bother you. I was dumbfounded. It had been so long. All I remembered was that it was a beautiful painting with gorgeous colors. I was sad for a long time after she left, and eventually I stopped going to the art room myself. I had wanted to ask the teacher if I could take the painting home, but when I came back the next day, it was gone. Someone had taken it. After that, I never saw it again. She had hidden her contact info in the painting, which meant she was just like me. Vivian patted my shoulder lightly. So don't feel too bad. You're not the first person to have their art ignored by the person they gave it to. I was so embarrassed I didn't know what to say, just mumbled an "oh." But deep down, in the most secret part of my heart, a little spark of joy ignited. Vivian had left me her contact information. This was Vivian Lin, the girl with a line of admirers long enough to circle the campus. That night, for the first time in a long time, I didn't dream of Christina. I dreamt of a younger Vivian, in a black hoodie, her face exquisitely detailed. She handed me my Starry Night painting, her voice clear. "Leo, you may not know me, but I've known you for a very, very long time." Ethan's post was deleted the next day. I don't know why. Then my roommate Alex told me someone saw Ethan and Christina have a huge fight, and he ran out of the classroom with tears in his eyes. But I didn't really care about any of that anymore. I think Vivian was right. Anyone who makes me cry isn't worth crying over. I decided it was time to focus more on myself. To my surprise, Christina showed up that night. She was waiting outside the men's dorm, and when she saw me, she pulled me aside. "Yesterday was the anniversary of my mom's death. Why weren't you there?" I froze, only then remembering. Christina's parents had both died when she was in middle school. The circumstances of her mother's death were scandalous. Rumor was she'd been having an affair and suffocated in a car, found naked. Her father couldn't handle the shock and jumped off a building. I heard she used to be a model student before all that, but afterwards, she just let herself go. Ever since I became a part of her life, I'd been with her every year on the anniversary. I wouldn't say anything, just sit with her by the grave. Sometimes, she would hug me, her body trembling slightly. For years, I was the one who helped her through it. But now I thought she didn't need me anymore, and I didn't want to follow her around anymore. Christina looked furious. Her cool fingertips touched the side of my neck as she tilted her head up, her eyes dangerous. "Why weren't you with me? I called you a bunch of times, but you blocked me. You dare to block me? I frowned. I can't be with you forever. You should have asked your boyfriend to go with you. Christina paused, her expression awkward. I broke up with Ethan. Not my problem. I tried to push past her, but she grabbed me again. Her grip was surprisingly strong, and she pulled me close. Leo, are you still mad that I got with him? I scoffed. If I got mad every time you were with a new guy, I would have died from anger a long time ago. You like me, don't you? Christina's brow furrowed, her voice sharp with frustration. Fine. I'll be with you. Is that what you want? I was a bit surprised Christina would say that. The old me would probably be jumping for joy. But now I felt nothing. It was almost laughable. I shoved her hand away, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Don't trouble yourself. I don't like you anymore. Christina's lips curled into a mocking smile, as if she thought I was just trying to protect my pathetic pride. Give me a break, Leo. The one thing you've wanted your whole life is to be with me. Do you even remember what you wrote in your love letter? We're all born as different shapes, but for you, I'm willing to change into whatever shape fits. The contempt in her eyes was obvious, like she was looking at a pitiful dog. Or have you moved on to that Vivian girl? You think she's any better than me? I clenched my fists and looked up at her, speaking each word carefully. Are you trying to humiliate me? So, you think liking you is something to be ashamed of? Christina froze. For a few seconds, the expression on her face was completely blank. I gave a small, bitter smile and turned to leave. This time, Christina didn't try to stop me. I poured all my energy into my studies. My already good GPA got even better. Vivian was right. Letting go of people who aren't worth it and focusing on yourself feels so much better. I took on a heavy course load, aced every class with a 90 or above, and watched my GPA climb. I joined the art club and spent my free time painting to keep myself busy. I went to the art exhibit with Vivian and saw so many paintings I'd only ever dreamed of seeing in person. The feeling was incredible. Then I was accepted into the exchange student program. I was going to spend a year in the UK. A few days before I was set to leave, Christina showed up again. It was pouring rain and freezing cold. She grabbed my shoulders, her eyes red. You're going abroad. Why didn't you tell me? I said coldly, who are you? Why would I tell you? Christina bit her lip hard. Leo, you said you'd never leave me. That was from the first time I went with her to her mother's grave. Her lips were bleeding from how hard she was biting them, but she refused to cry. I told her I would always be there for her. But now, my face was expressionless. Christina, do I need to remind you how you sold my painting and called me a simp? She frowned. I told you, that wasn't me, it was… Forget it. Leo, can you please not go? I looked at her with a flicker of disappointment. After all this time, she hadn't changed at all. Still so selfish. Always thinking only of herself. I turned to walk away, but she grew more agitated, following me and shouting, What is it that you want? You just want to be with me, right? I can be with you. Why are you still so angry? I whipped around and yelled, You have no idea what I want. You're just selfish and self-absorbed, and you only ever see yourself. Christina. Liking you was the biggest regret of my life. It seemed like Christina and I always ended things on a bad note. Only this time she didn't leave. The late autumn night was cold, the rain falling in sheets from the sky. She just stood there, stunned, without moving an inch. At first, there were cigarette butts on the ground around her, but the rain washed them away. At 2 in the morning, I was woken up by the buzz of a text message. It was from an unknown number, and the message was long. I know what you want now. You wanted an apology, and I'm sorry I realized it too late. All these years, I've kept you by my side, selfishly enjoying your company and pretending I didn't know you liked me while I was busy playing games. I've always felt like giving your heart to someone is dangerous. I'll never forget the day my dad made me one last meal, smiling as he sent me out the door. The next time I saw him, he was a cold corpse. So I've been scared to like anyone. Especially when I realized my feelings for you were changing. I got even more scared. I started flaunting all those other guys in front of you, acting like I didn't care about you. I wanted to keep my distance, to stop myself from liking you. Now I finally realize how stupid I was. I thought you would always be there, that I could turn around anytime and you'd be waiting. But now I know you can leave too. These past few days have been hell. I can't stop thinking about you.
I'm panicking.
I can't take it anymore. Leo, I know I was completely wrong, but can you please give me one more chance to make it up to you? I'm sorry. I'm begging you. Please, can you give the painting back to me? The last bit of sleepiness vanished. I stared at the bright, piercing screen, my eyes starting to sting. Christina apologizing to me. It was a miracle.
No anger, no sarcasmo, no condescension.
I almost suspected she'd had someone else write it for her. It seemed like life without me really was hard for her. Enough for her to humble herself and beg. She was always so proud, so unwilling to ever back down. She wasn't asking for the painting back, she was asking for my heart. I had waited for this day for a long time. Waited for her apology. Waited for her to like me back. Waited for her to finally look at me. I could actually understand why Christina was so messed up. Like she said, her family tragedy made her that way. Me too. I finally understood why I had followed her around for so long. I grew up unloved, starved for affection. I subconsciously clung to any lifeline to keep from drowning. I made Christina the entire meaning of my life because before her, my life was just an empty void, and I desperately needed something to fill it. So even when she treated me horribly, I just took it. Because without her, my life would be empty again, with nothing left. But I understood now. I shouldn't live for someone else. Every second I'm alive is what gives my life meaning. I don't need someone else to complete me. I can do that myself. Christina was wrong. She thought what I wanted was an apology. She didn't know that I didn't need it anymore, because I just didn't care anymore. I typed out a few words in reply. TLDR. Then I blocked the number. I wasn't obligated to pay for her family tragedy. Everyone has their own path to walk. Her life wasn't any harder than mine. If I was going to pity anyone, I should pity myself. We were done. The day I left, Vivian came to see me off. She helped me with my luggage and walked me all the way to the security checkpoint. That's right, we weren't together. I had found my direction in life. I no longer needed someone else's affection to feel whole. I figured it was best to let things happen naturally. If we were meant to be, we'd see each other again. Just then, my phone buzzed with a new message. Another unknown number. Goodbye, Leo. I wish you all the best. If you're ever unhappy, you can always come back. I'll always be waiting for you. I smiled and deleted the message. Goodbye. I waved at Vivian. She smiled back. Take care of yourself. And I'll miss you. I tried to act casual, not letting on that I was going to miss her too. She just nodded and kept walking forward with my suitcase. I blinked. Security is right there. You can stop here. She just laughed and pulled a plane ticket out of her pocket. I happened to be going to the UK for a vacation. And look at that, we're on the same flight. What a coincidence. I stared at her, shocked. It was the only flight to the UK that day. What was she playing at? Where's your luggage? She held up her empty hands. My family has a house in the UK. It's fully stocked. I've got all my documents right here in my pocket. So you just stood there and watched me say goodbye. I was genuinely sad for a minute there. I pretended to be annoyed and snatched my suitcase back from her. She put her hands up in surrender. My bad. I was happy to see that you'd miss me. My face flushed. I turned and started walking toward the gate, ignoring her. Hey, wait for me. She caught up to me in a few long strides. Sunlight streamed through the windows, creating halos in the dusty air. With my back to Vivian, I couldn't help but smile. Whether we ended up together or not, I had to thank her. Thank you for teaching me how to love myself. And I would keep walking forward confidently on my own 2 feet.